Hello, and welcome to another audio commentary for Series 1 of Parallel. Today we'll be looking at the very final episode of Series 1, The Devil's Deal. So let's press play. Of course, my old logo. Just drinking some tea. Previously, so this is where I sum up everything in the series. There's a lot of plot going on. Of course, yeah, going on with the Rose story. Haven't done one of these in a while. I've been very busy doing some other stuff, but it's good to get back into talking about these again. Don't know whether or not I've explained too much in this previously, but you do sort of have to know all this stuff, so... Oh, some old terrible green screen there. It does very quickly jump into the stuff that happened specifically last episode, though. In this story, I'm going to take you through some of the choices for the Rolling Stones songs. I don't know why I chose to do some Rolling Stones songs, but I just thought it was... I just thought it sounded cool at the time. It was coming out of Guns of the Galaxy, so... Quite happy actually overall with my ability to do the Savine voice. This is quite dark. I just choke her to death. I gotta have that theme music. Even though time gets rewritten at the end of the story, again spoilers for these, he never has that coat again, which is interesting. I've got to have a Wilhelm scream in there somewhere. This took a while to print. The reason it's blue and not the colours of the original AFT download set is because my printer was actually breaking, so it wasn't printing all the colours right. But actually, to tell you the truth, I think it looks quite nice being all blue. Of course, the idea is that it's canvas and being built up outside where the alien spaceship was. That was a nice music ending there. This bit, I think about this bit all the time, did not work the way I wanted. I wanted it to be a bit like the whole scene in the original Batman movie, where the Joker runs into the art gallery and just dances to music and destroys everything. But, you know, I'm animating and he didn't really do a lot and the music disappears really quickly. So overall, it just... Also, the sound effects is just rustling through a few things and everyone's watching. It's really, really odd. Yeah, it did not work out the way I had originally intended. I had to use Bessie in this. Very important. It took me a long time to make Bessie, even though actually she doesn't look the best now. I might have another go at building her, maybe with milliput over the top of the cardboard, just to make it look better. My one problem with these Savine, and actually I might custom one at some point, is the fact that their mouths are always open. I'd quite like it if I had a Savine with its mouth closed. I have 3 of them, I think, now. Not that I think there's ever 3 of them in the same scene in this animation. I might as well just have one. They're so big, that's the problem. You could probably tell that the inspiration for the trader's voice is, of course, the Heath Ledger Joker, like everything else. So sorry for that. As you can tell, this was done. This driving was done by keeping the car completely still and moving the background behind. This is actually a flipped shot to make it look like they're driving the other way, which you can tell from the doctor's hair. However, I think it works reasonably well. To have cars actually driving is quite difficult in this. Of course, Claire being on that balcony is green screen. The only problem with it, of course, is the glass not quite working, and that shot there isn't the best. But those little shards of glass are from when I did the Cybermen smashing through the machine in episode 5. This is meant to be chlorophyll. I hope people get the idea. There's a bit of an abrupt music end there. I do like to constantly roast my own animations, especially Series 1. Anyway. Of course, all of this was mainly edited on Movie Maker, so you've got to give me some credit. I don't know why they go to his house. I think I just wanted to use the set again. Oh, and here comes the Trader's music. One of my favourite pieces of music I found for this, because it's actually really for him. I love it. Gotta have a cloister bell. Oh, I love those sounds of the cups. Just makes it seem more real. So that's meant to be like a bay window, but of course I couldn't just have a bay window. I'd have to green screen or something, so it didn't quite work. So I guess that's meant to be like a curtain up. Maybe it'd been better if I then put a curtain in front, but hey ho, hindsight. I don't do a lot of jokes in this because it's difficult to do jokes in a animation, but I hope that joke lands with people. Maybe I should have expanded that in Series 2, just had him with a random cat picture on his desk or something. I just didn't think of it. Oh, those special effects for the videos there. Bit of a problem there, he is explaining the plot we've already seen, but it is important that the Doctor explains that to the characters there, so that's the problem with scripts sometimes, it's explaining stuff to your characters that your audience already knows. That's why Russell's so great, he's able to do it so effortlessly.
We know, we just saw the security footage. Orders say we need to find where the Doctor is, and how would we be able to do that?
There's my Michael Caine impression, which then later on bled into what I was going to do for Pete Tyler. I have to admit, even at this point, I didn't know that the Professor was a Time Lord, which is really silly of me. And of course, again, more hindsight, I would have definitely added in a bit more clues towards that throughout the whole series, if that was always my intention.
James, that's his job, isn't it?
I don't think it's in his job description to be shady, Megan.
Okay, that joke probably does work. Of course, that is the Timothy Dalton head. I just use any head I can find and put it onto the soldier's body, just to try and make more soldiers. So that's the Doctor supposedly looking out the curtain, which doesn't quite work. But this is the problem where everyone's voice is me, so it doesn't quite all fit together. You're like, who's talking? Wait, that person's talking now. That person's talking now. They're all talking the same. But the fact that the Doctor just has a random Cyberman just on his mantelpiece.
Yes, he does seem tight. But no, I'm the one that suggested the job for the Professor. So then someone was close to the train.
Gotta add some all strange features in here somewhere.
What key? My TARDIS key? No. My only other choice is to kill you and take it from you. But that would be a waste of a brilliant mind. Well, I'm happy we both agree on that. But I think I'm going to have to get that.
Those little pillows that I've made for the seat there is actually from when I used it for Torchwood. Not Torchwood, sorry, Sherlock. That's John's chair. Oh, and I really like that shadow. That works quite nicely. I wish I had like I showed like a tiny one of those metal spiders or something underneath the car, or something to show what it was that was looking. One of my nice things I like about the Trader is the fact that I could move his head quite a bit, which really shows his manic nature.
If I didn't need your insight into time travel, then I would kill you where you stand for dishonor.
My one problem with this idea of the Savine taking over is I don't think I have enough Savine. I make everyone soldiers. Supposedly these soldiers are Slovene in the suits, but yeah, I don't know how that happens either. I don't know how they end up with just James.
Take James to torture and we'll search.
And it was important to me that I also had unit soldiers with tortured soldiers, and of course the difference there is the berets. Doctor's Back Garden, which I think looks slightly different in Series 2, just because I had to remake it later.
Wow, where'd you get that?
I acquired it from Torchwood earlier this year.
So you stole it then?
Yes, well, because it's a stun gun, so Torchwood would have got rid of it otherwise.
And where's mine?
Ah, no. I only have one. Anyway, it's far too complicated for you to use.
Right, thanks. Let's hope I don't get killed.
Making sarcasm there. James just gets dragged and then suddenly, oh, now I'm awake.
Silence.
I love this music from Series 3. One of my favourite pieces of music Marigold's done. And of course, it's meant to symbolise the very similar situation of the Doctor being a fugitive, like in Sound of Drums.
Is it true that this has been announced?
And again, like I said in the last commentary, I hope people realise this isn't the Brigadier, it's a Brigadier. I wish I called him Brigadier something. He does have a name, I can't remember what it is now, but I wish I explicitly said that more.
I'd like to urge the public not to worry, as an attack is being dealt with promptly by the government. Now they really do have control of everything.
How are we gonna
That's a really close up because I forgot to get rid of the green screen, and then annoyingly there's one frame of it still that flashes up and it's why? I didn't realise it until it was weeks after it had been uploaded, so I just
give up on it?
again it did it just again there. It's really annoying, but it's not that I can do.
Bring me the doctor. He got away, sir.
I've done a little beret there over the top of the fact that Uncle has a blue ear.
Or maybe we would have it if you didn't blow up that ridiculous car of his. Well, then next time.
I really like Tony being a villain. Like, he's quite nice as a just a unit higher up guy, but he's even better as a villain.
As I have acquired a device from Unit in America. Bring it in. This machine can get through any door.
If you look carefully, I don't know if anyone noticed, that's actually the only piece of the K1 robot that I own. Just the crotch area, I think. Bit at the top of the legs, anyway.
Right, I'm going to go through the main entrance, take out all the guards, and you're all going
I like the addition of the fact this has a lift, and it does come back at the very end of Series 2.
to be in the central room from when I check the CCTV.
If you're using the main entrance, what about me?
Well, I have a special place for you to sneak in.
That's a bit of a dodgy line if you listen to it the wrong way.
He has his own entrance. I wondered why I never saw him.
It's very James to have his own way of getting into work, so then he doesn't have to talk to people.
Wait for me in the office, then get them all out, okay?
Okay.
Good luck.
Oh, the alien alarm's coming back. Actually, so I lied in the commentary for episode 1. I had used it again, but I wish I used it more consistency. So, second Rolling Stones song in this episode. This one I really wanted in the story. This was because if you listen to the lyrics, it's about the Doctor having mixed emotions just as much as Horus because of his half-human side. This was a really difficult scene to animate, well, to edit, in order to one, extend the whole gun thing, but also to get those laser bolts in. My laptop just wasn't the best. Again, like I said, I wish there was more Slovene against him, but if you notice, I hope it works, the Slovene takes a couple of shots. My corridors in Series 1 are not quite as interesting to look at as the way I did the corridors in Series 2, which are a lot more interesting.
sight of me is killing our men and one of my family. Don't be silly, this is the doctor.
I had to stress the Doctor is not killing people. That would be completely out of character. He clearly got a stun gun. The Doctor would not hide a normal gun.
Right, everyone followed Megan out the building now.
You would think to yourself, why is only two guards guarding all these people? But actually they're not that important people, so
Are you alright? I should be fine, Doctor. Good to see you.
I should be fine. He's holding a bloody handkerchief. As in covered in blood.
Now everyone is escaping. We are the only two here still conscious. No worry, no worry.
Sometimes the emotion in my voice is not appropriate enough, and I wish maybe I could go back and re-record some of this stuff. So of course that was edited later to move his eyeballs.
Horus, what do you want? I want your TARDIS. You know that. This key right here.
I've mentioned this before, that key is made from a
And now it's not even mine.
from a tiny bit of plastic that I've cut into shape. This was very difficult to animate and it doesn't quite come out right, but the idea is of course that he just fires at everything from rage, because that is what causes the TARDIS to malfunction.
I'm coming.
And that's a Star Wars sound effect there. There we go, temporary shields, which is why the TARDIS is able to get destroyed later on. Because of course the TARDIS can't just be destroyed. So there.
James, I've been waiting for this for so long. That's probably not as long as I've wanted to do that.
And I was really wanted James to have a proper sort of heroic line and get his way with Tony finally.
If I can't have the TARDIS, then neither can you, Doctor.
After all this time, the Doctor's waited 2 years for his TARDIS to grow, and then Horus destroys it. I really liked that idea. And that's meant to be his clothes sort of getting ripped away as he moves towards the light. But where's Horus gone? I'm never going to fully explain what happens there, but if you see Series 2, he is around. A rare sight of the top of the set. It is able to put all the walls back together.
I said I'd come back for you. Everyone's outside safe. What happened? She's gone. What?
This figure shows how much better a figure with full articulation is to animate.
So long now.
Like that there. So much more emotion in a figure that can actually move like a human, as opposed to the unarticulated 10th Doctor I normally use,
Is there anything
which is such a shame.
Rose would know what to do. Rose.
And here we go. This is him getting the ideas of what's happened.
Why? You've gone mad. You're not married?
Don't you think it's strange, Doctor?
And I believe this music is
Affected by the thing
the same as when Donna loses her memory?
by the vortex manipulation.
Or it could be from something else, I can't quite remember.
You felt it too. There's something a mystery around.
No, this is time reversing for what River Song did in Wedding of River Song.
Brain and one heart. I should notice this before. Notice what? Your deal with the devil. Trickster.
And I wonder if anyone ever noticed, saw this coming, I mean. This was done in just a white set, actually a white bookshelf at the time, and I just upped the brightness and the contrast to make it seem like they're in a white void. And of course that's a very old custom, made that years ago, one of my first, which you can actually see a video about on my channel somewhere. Sorry about the poor quality. Of course, I might as well explain, it's made from a Lilith. Just taken the hair off and sculpted on a hood. That's it. That's all you've done. Oh, and obviously I painted the eyes away.
Where did you go? The one thing I don't
And I had to include the whole puzzle box thing because that's so important to the trickster in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
So this whole time I've been inside another parallel universe, the one you created out of your agreement with Claire. You really are a trickster, but I will stop you.
Again, yeah, he's been inside another parallel universe against his parallel universe. That's why the series is parallel. Everything is parallel to the parallel universe. It's just, yeah. And then that's some cheap green screen I've done to get the trickster to appear. I really wanted him to sort of appear as a black smoke, but sadly not. I've actually met the guy who voiced the trickster, and played him, at the Sarah Jane convention a few years ago. He's a really nice person, a very tall person, obviously. I always thought it was a girl when I was younger, when Sarah Jane came out, but yeah, some terrible animating there of the car not working. But I do really like these shots of Claire looking up at the trickster and stuff. That I flipped that one upside down, so it's the point of view of the trickster, and I quite like it because everything's upside down for her at this point.
Now you remember I can help you. The doctor is going to want you to be the one that was hit by the car.
I hope all this plot makes sense. I'm sure it does.
I can erase him from this universe, and you
Oh, and of course I've then taken the actual trickster music from the Sarah Jane Adventures for this, because I thought it's important to keep music consistent. Like in episode 6 when I had the Weevils, I used some Torchwood music to go with it. That fade's really nice.
I don't understand. You're hurting my head.
give me your
And again, this music is from the Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, which is another trickster story.
trickster only works on agreement. Give him your agreement, and I will be gone.
So this is the Doctor inside Claire's head in the trickster realm.
He wants.
That's why I've faded it.
How can I stop him?
No, don't listen to him. I saved your life. You need to take back your agreement, and this world will reset itself to how it should be.
But I will die.
Yes, I know.
Little bit of a
And I'm sorry.
exposition dump there. However, this shot in a moment really makes up for it. I love the spin. This was done by the onion skin on my animation. So I start with twisting around here, and then I just set them back up in the same positions, and then I carry it on in the new set. Oh, and if you look carefully, that's a Magpie Electrical store, because I thought that would be appropriate. So actually that's the same street Megan and the Doctor walked along earlier on in the episode.
Rose should have been driving.
Oh, Doctor, I'm so
I only had one street set.
Not just for you condemned Rose.
Oh, and then it's obvious why I used this particular Rolling Stones song. Of course, this one is the only one that's not in universe. And this isn't the Rolling Stones. This is Susan Boyle's version. But I just use it because it's sad, but it works. It's talking about Claire getting taken away by wild horses. It is sort of appropriate, but
now I'm stronger enough to
but generally it's just because it's sad and it's appropriate for the tone. And here's time getting changed in a different way.
goodbye.
And I'm ashamed. It's the only green screen tear I could find, but I'm sad I didn't do that better. That was nice. That little zoom in there was nice. I bet I probably did that backwards and reversed it. So started in and moved out. And if you look carefully in the background of this sort of stuff, you can see that Rose and people, the guys on the phone, other people coming up to help. So she's not just there
Doesn't that seem familiar?
on her own.
You're a Time Lord, but I thought I'd killed all of you.
This is a little bit
What happened to the other?
underwhelming for the Doctor. I feel like maybe him finding out the Time Lords did survive in Day of the Doctor should have been a bit better. Of course, this is the Medical Crisis Doctor, as you know, so he can know about this because he's not going to influence. He's not going to regenerate into Matt Smith, so
How did they do? Well enough.
this will come up again. There will be more explanation behind this whole Time Lords watching over him, so
You're not immortal.
wait for a while for that one. So this is actually the exact same shots as the opening to the whole series. It was no point of reanimating it, except that's of course reanimated. And I hope it's a nice little trick where you think he's going to turn it off and it's going to be the same, but actually Rose is there. And of course this is the same animation I used at the beginning. However, I took out that stupid voice of me saying, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late. Luckily. And I cut this scene here. I think I cut it before it actually opens. So then that way we don't see that stupid image I made for the inside. And that's why the whole set here looks different, because it's the original set. However, that's been reanimated, so James isn't behind him, James is in front of him. And then we got Pete, which is the whole reason I spent the whole series not using the James Lester figure, knowing that I would want to use it for Pete for series 2. So there we go. So I always plan to have Pete in this story. Well, in series 2 specifically. Can't have Rose without Pete, and like the Doctor says, you can't have Pete's World without Pete.
Also, I'm going to hold back a Dark World invasion about to come for Earth, so no need to worry about that. Where are you going? My TARDIS, she's ready.
Switching between the Doctor and Tony's voice, not Tony, sorry. Switching between the Doctor and Pete's voice was actually quite difficult back then. And of course that's the CLAIR glowing because the TARDIS is ready. Finally. And then I should probably talk about this set. So this is like the lab. This is made from a just a polystyrene container box, and then I've got special type of tinfoil I nicked from work with that sort of hexagon design on. And then I've just shoved those lights in between, and I've made the black pillars. And the black pillars have sort of wires coming down them, which is meant to be sort of like sci-fi vines, like it's glowing. And of course I had to make a new Sonic, and that sound effect is from Matt Smith getting his Sonic. The lighting in this scene is a little bit darker than what I normally do. And sadly, later on, those lights in the floor broke, so that's why it doesn't light up during Series 2. But I quite like the set. And there's Clockwork TARDIS. And here we go. First scene I ever did in the TARDIS, and it's probably one of my best ones I've done in the TARDIS. And yeah, I'm quite happy with it. So much better having the actual TARDIS. Oh, and there's the portals, but the portals look a little bit different to what we have later on. And I did this because I never actually credited anyone throughout each episode, because I voiced so many people, as you see in the final bit. So I did all the main characters, Bill, who's not really in this story very much, and Tony, and James Blackmore, one of my favourite characters, Claire Fields, of course we never see again, Horus, great villain, and the Doctor. And this took forever to do. I don't even think it works. This is just saying that I voiced basically everyone. It's just some top picks. And that's it. That brings us to the end of this commentary. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, there's other commentaries on this channel. I'm going to be diving into Series 2 soon. I've made an animation recently for the 15th anniversary of Doctor Who returning, as well as soon I'm going to do, or it's already come out, a custom video about the Daleks that appear in that story. So, thank you again for watching. Please subscribe for more, and goodbye.